In the cold, silent embrace of the Himalayas, where the wind howls across endless stretches of stone and snow, there lies a story so unusual, so deeply woven into the fabric of survival, that it defies everything we believe about love, marriage, and family. High above the clouds, in the remote villages of Tibet, there exists a custom unlike any other, a tradition where several brothers share one wife. This is the tale of Tibetan polyandry, and of the brothers who shared a woman, not out of lust or convenience, but out of duty, survival, and a love that transcends the ordinary boundaries of the human heart. Imagine a home made of stone, perched on a mountainside. Inside, a small fire crackles, fighting back the cold air that seeps through the cracks. A woman tends to the fire, while behind her sit 3 men, her husbands, brothers bound by blood and by tradition. Their lives are intertwined in a way few outsiders can comprehend. In this world, love is not about possession. It is about endurance. Centuries ago, when the land was harsh and resources scarce, Tibetan families faced a cruel reality. The arable land that could sustain a family was limited, and dividing it among sons generation after generation would leave each with nothing. But one simple, if unconventional, solution emerged. Instead of each brother taking a separate wife and dividing their inheritance, all brothers would share one. In this way, the family's land, wealth, and labor remained united. It was not merely a marriage. It was a strategy of survival written into the DNA of Tibetan life. In the village of Dingri, stories are still told of one such family. 3 brothers, Tenzin, Dorje, and Pima, grew up in a single-room house overlooking the mountains. Their father was a farmer, their mother a weaver. When it came time for the eldest, Tenzin, to marry, the family faced a familiar question. Would they risk breaking their land apart or follow the tradition that had sustained their ancestors? The decision was made in silence, the kind that carries the weight of generations. The bride chosen for Tenzin would become the wife of all 3 brothers. Her name was Dolma, a young woman with kind eyes and a steady heart. She came from a nearby valley, her family known for their sheep and barley fields. On her wedding day, the air was thin and filled with incense smoke. The monks chanted prayers of prosperity, and Dolma, dressed in layers of red and turquoise, walked into her new home. She knew what was expected of her. She would be wife, partner, and mother, not just to one man, but to 3. For outsiders, the idea seems impossible. How could a woman love more than one husband? How could brothers share the same wife without jealousy tearing them apart? But for Dolma and the brothers, love was not measured by passion alone. It was measured by harmony, by the ability to work together, to sustain a family in the unforgiving mountains. The brothers took turns working the fields, tending to the yaks, and traveling to distant markets. Dolma managed the home, cared for the children, and kept the household united. To her, each husband was not a rival to the others, but part of one larger bond that held their lives together. In the evenings, when the sky glowed deep orange and the snow peaks shimmered in dying light, the family gathered around the fire. The children would listen as their fathers told stories of the mountain gods and the ancient kings of Tibet. Sometimes the brothers would laugh together, their voices echoing against the stone walls. And Dolma would smile, her eyes soft and weary, her heart heavy with the knowledge that in this arrangement, strange as it might seem, there was peace. But peace, like the mountain weather, never lasts forever. As the years passed, cracks began to appear. The youngest brother, Pima, restless and curious, began to question the life he had inherited. He longed to see the world beyond the valley, to find his own wife, his own path. But tradition chained him to the house. To leave would mean breaking the unity of the family, dividing the land, and bringing shame upon their lineage. His nights grew sleepless, his eyes often drifting toward the distant peaks that marked the border of Nepal, a world he had never seen but often dreamed of. Dolma noticed his silence. She felt his distance, the quiet rebellion forming behind his polite smile. She too felt trapped at times, caught between duty and emotion. Though she loved her husbands equally, there were nights when she wished her life had been different, simpler, freer. Yet in Tibet, duty was sacred. Personal desire was a luxury few could afford. The turning point came one bitter winter when famine struck. The snow came early and heavy, killing livestock and freezing the fields. Food grew scarce, and the family's unity was tested in the harshest way. The brothers worked tirelessly, trading whatever they could to keep everyone fed. But one night, as the fire burned low, Pema stood up and spoke words that shattered the silence. "I cannot stay," he said. "I must find my own life." The room went still. The eldest, Tenzin, stared into the fire. Dorje clenched his fists. Dolma's heart sank. In that moment, centuries of tradition hung by a thread. But in the eyes of Pema, there was no defiance, only yearning. He bowed his head, whispered a blessing to his family, and by dawn, he was gone. Days turned to months, months into years. The house felt emptier, quieter. The fields were harder to manage. Yet somehow, the family endured. They told the villagers that Pema had gone to trade in the lowlands, but everyone knew the truth. He had broken the circle. Polyandry was not just a marriage custom. It was a delicate balance of economics, faith, and survival. It required absolute cooperation, and when one link broke, the entire chain trembled. Dolma continued to hold the family together, but the weight of loss never left her. In the evening, she would look toward the mountains and wonder where Pema was, whether he had found happiness or regret. Generations later, the story of Dolma and the brothers is still whispered in the valley. It reminds people of a time when survival demanded sacrifice, when love took forms that defied logic. But as Tibet changed, roads built, schools opened, the world beyond the mountains grew closer. The old ways began to fade. Because in Tibet, at the roof of the world, love was not divided by numbers. It was multiplied by need. And that is the untold truth of Tibetan polyandry. The brothers who shared a wife, and the woman whose heart carried them all.